So you crest this hill.
Yep.
You look down into the valley.
Yep.
And there's a clearing.
There's a clearing
with a UAP.
Yes.
Just sitting there.
Sitting there,
hovering.
rotating clockwise. Yep. And that's in transition this color spectrum I was telling you too. And that's why it's something that stuck out. It's not a building, It's not something that you're used to seeing. Maybe topside it could have looked like a building or something that, I don't know. I don't have that perspective. I wasn't a pilot or anything, but I can tell you from our point of view, it's something that it looked very unnatural and abnormal. And all of a sudden we're enveloped by this military force I still to this day don't know who they are. And
how close did you get?
To the craft?
To the craft.
Roughly 200 meters, 150, 200.
Did you get to the bottom of the hill?
Yes.
So you saw the top of it, and then you could see underneath of it.
And underneath of it had this platform that was on the ground that was separate from this craft hovering. And it was very weird to see, and I was like, okay, I don't know if that's kind of like a cement pad or something. I don't know if it was like a helo pad or anything like that at first, but then started seeing how the material kind of looked very similar to what the craft was. It's like, well, that's separate. So you have something that's on the ground, stationary, and then you have something that's up top, and it's just rotating in a clockwise position. So right when we got close to it, at least 150, 200 meters out, then all of a sudden we were engaged, at least not in a hostile manner, at least, not gunfire or firefight or anything like that. But the way that these guys moved was so fluid, it was so still, it was very, very, very smooth. And it kind of indicated to me, after thinking about it for several years, is that these guys have done it for a while, because of how smooth this operation was. Mm-hmm. So when we were in a tactical column going towards the center of this thing, they actually came from the flanks, but it was more of a diagonal, like a corner of the room, so to speak, right? So we kind of knew, and they started yelling at us. They were like, you're not supposed to fucking be here. What the fuck are you guys doing here? Who the fuck are you with? So they knew they were using the kind of lingo that we were using too, especially in the military. So it made me think that at some point these guys actually were uniformed military at one point, taking pictures of our military IDs. So they had like these devices that kind of looked like a very thin. It looked like a smartphone modern day right now, because in 2009 it wasn't the case. But that may be enough, and then they took our IDs, because some people I talked to that are in the special operations community with that, they said, yeah, we have the ability to scan IDs, and it tells us everything about you. Military IDs, driver license, things like that. So it's very high-speed stuff. And considering this was in 2009 compared to now, of course, they had this thing that they were using to load up stuff. It's very advanced physics, something hovering off the ground, not making any sound, but an audible hum, like a guitar amp or something that's like a transformer.
So it didn't sound like a jet.
No.
It didn't sound like a helicopter.
Hell no.
There was no engine noise.
Nope.
Just a hum.
Just an audible hum. It's very creepy to see because it's not normal.
Was it like a bassy hum?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Like a guitar. Like if you were to unplug it, it wasn't the same pitch, but it was like the same kind of sound, same kind of noise that it emitted. And so as they're searching us, we're watching this thing happen. And that's when we started seeing trucks come from our left and go onto this platform. And they were up armored 350s. I know exactly what 350s are. They were kind of beefier trucks. They were matte black. When they were coming at us, and they go left. And I was glancing between what was going on in front of us with these guys, and then all of a sudden glancing over to what was going on behind them. And that's when I started seeing the key details of this thing. Like it had like a scale pattern on it, kind of like an octagonal, because the craft itself was like an octagonal shape where you could see points. Had a pyramid structure on top that was black, and you can see the shadowing of it as it rotated. But it was rotating very slow. But they had weapon cases in the back of each truck bed. And, you could store like a couple hundred weapons, maybe 100 weapons, maybe a platoon, a company-size element. And it was the same Pelican casings that we would use to store stuff when they were transloading, So very big cases on 2 of them in each truck bed. And then they had a shipping container thing. It looked like a shipping container, but smaller and half the size. And the thing that was different about this is it had a cylinder on the front of it that was towards the truck. It was like parallel to the ground, just a cylinder right on the top of this thing. And for years I thought, okay, there's got to be oxygen supply or like a vacuum sealing thing that you would, because obviously I'm thinking it's drugs. I was like, okay, so this is a very advanced way to do that, just years of thinking of this. And come to find out, when I gave my speech in D.C. on that Saturday for the Disclosure Project with Dr. Greer, he's got a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, by the way. And this gentleman, I'm not going to give any detail. I know a little bit about him. but he works in some of these projects that are some very controversial facilities. He's aware of what was going on. After I gave my presentation of this, he confirmed, he says, no, he's like, I don't want to leave Michael hanging out there, but I was not expecting to come and talk to you about this. And he went explaining what the operations do, why they do it, and what they were using them for. And he says, it's not drugs that they're putting in these shipping containers. He says it's humans.
Human trafficking.
Yes. His own words. And, of course. And he also wants to come forward, at least with him and 30 other people that are involved with that part of the work. But it was very disheartening to actually get that information relayed to me, because here I'm thinking for years it's drugs and it's a much sinister thing. But it makes sense because they use natural disasters that people are going to be missing anyway.
Yep.
Scoop up people.
I mean, I've been covering human trafficking this year.
Right.
And that's, a lot of the human trafficking comes from third world countries in distress. You're in a third world area.
Yep.
In distress. Right after an earthquake would be, it's prime.
Yeah.
Prime time to do a human trafficking operation.
Right.
Okay, wow. So a lot of Michael Herrera's story has been corroborated by an investigator. Joey is not my name. Okay, and just so that you know that Joey is not my name is on the level, I reached out to Mike and asked him, have they indeed been in communication as Joey, or not Joey, claims? And indeed they have. And then Joey reached out to me on Twitter and sent me this clip from an interview with Chris Lato where Mike Herrera says that very succinctly.
And left a paper trail with certain people, including Joey is not my name, just in case if anything happened.
If I can cut in just a second, is when I met with Joey, he talked about that because he was investigating your case. He was happy to get your help. Actually, he was able to ask you questions directly. But then he was surprised how much information you were telling him. He said he started realizing as well that you were going out to this meeting and downloading the information with him. That's where he was getting even more nervous, right? And he talked through that because. And he tracked basically when you were going out there and how long you were there, and he talk to you afterwards, etc. So, yeah, it's interesting. He was able to verify a lot of these details that you're talking about through other means that we can't really discuss on this call. But I will say he did verify some other details, a few other kind of key details that you were there, you were in this location, and some of these things did happen. So. It was interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, Mike went to one of these black sites and he was showing some amazing stuff. And we were given a lot of information because of that experience. And of course, if you haven't seen the 2-part interview I did with Mike, go check that out, or one of the other interviews that Mike has done, because the information that he received from these UFO control group people was amazing. Some of it is very alarming, and not good. Us luring UFOs in, apparently friendly UFOs to be shot at, and kidnapping psychic people or co-opting them into service, however you want to say that. But an important information, very important information that Mike is getting out there, and that pro-disclosure people apparently within the UFO control group are helping him to get out there. And Joey is not my name was able to corroborate a lot of this and even get in touch with one of these Black Project people himself. And Joey, or not Joey, is it Joey or not Joey? I'm just going to call him Joey because that's what Chris calls him. Joey Joey says that this Black Project member might actually be one of David Grush's 40-plus whistleblowers, and that would make perfect sense. So let's just get right into what Joey has to say. He says, I've been investigating the extraordinary claims of Michael Herrera since 2023. What started as a simple curiosity as a random Redditor has become a sense of responsibility to ensure this story is fully investigated. My approach has been thorough. I've had ongoing communications with Mike. Conversations with some members of his platoon have offered additional perspectives. I've received corroboration from third-party sources and evidence supporting some of Mike's claims. I've listened through all of Mike's interviews looking for consistency and new details. I compiled 4 pages of specific questions over the course of 4 months of investigating, then conducted a 2.5-hour interview with Michael, designed to clarify and challenge his account. Mike claims he and 5 other Marines, and he takes us through the account a little bit, they spotted a large UFO in a clearing in the jungle while on deployment as a Marine in 2009. He witnessed trucks being loaded onto it, towing large containers. When the Marines approached to investigate, they were held at gunpoint by a rogue paramilitary team. Yeah, I don't know how rogue they were. I mean, they were working for somebody. Rogue is maybe a little misleading, but yeah. After 7 months of piecing together information from private discussions, corroborative interviews, and scrutinizing his public statements, the picture that emerges is intriguing. I've had the privilege of engaging with respected individuals in ufology whose inputs have been invaluable. Some have provided not just validation for some of Michael's experiences, but also cautious guidance on navigating the sensitivities surrounding some of my undisclosed evidence. My aim here isn't to convince anyone outright. The nature of these claims, surrounded by uncertainty and the extraordinary, merits a balanced and open-minded investigation. I've had the opportunity to verify some aspects of Michael's story through credible sources and strong objective evidence, including his visit to a facility rumored to be linked to secretive projects. This evidence is of high quality, rigorously authenticated, clear and unambiguous, highly contextualized, which supports Michael being flown to this facility. I have also seen evidence supporting his in-person testimony to Arrow. That they did nothing with, of course. My objective, Joey says, is not for people to flat out believe me. I just want to add a small amount of credibility to some of Michael's claims so that he isn't simply dismissed. The implications of this are too high to simply brush off and ignore without a rigorous investigation and uncovering the evidence. I would like to encourage open-minded dialogue about Michael's claims and their implications. Here is an index of everything I've published about Michael Herrera so far. Verifying the events around his encounter, corroboration from Chris Lato regarding evidence I shared with him proving Michael met an insider and was flown to a secure facility, leaks provided to Michael by Black Program Insider, message from the Black Project Insider, proof I've been in contact with Michael, reproduction of the UFO sound that Michael heard, feedback from some platoon members, Michael talking about meeting the insider. And then he gives links to a bunch of Michael's interviews, maybe all of his interviews, including the 2-part interview right here on Cosmic Road. So good to see. So let's go through some of it. I'm not going to go through it all. I'll let you, investigate this at your leisure, but I do want to take you through some really interesting stuff. Verifying Mike's encounter. It's interesting because the investigator, Joey, is actually able to talk with Nathan, one of Mike's buddies, platoon unit members. And Nathan actually disputes Mike's testimony about the encounter, but he does say that Mike was there when he says he was there. And, it takes you through some of that. And Joey says, I think it's fair to say Mr. Herrera was definitely there in Indonesia, and the events surrounding his sighting are accurate and truthful. I find it extremely disappointing that people are so quick to dismiss his story because he misspoke about the name of a rifle or because they didn't have radios, which he admits he found strange too, or that people couldn't believe they wouldn't have tried to shoot the guys who intercepted them. People also don't understand why we're all of a sudden seeing whistleblowers coming forward. President Biden signed a law 6 months ago giving whistleblower protection to anyone with knowledge about UFOs. That's why. So yeah, I love it. Let's see what the insider has to say. And this was really interesting to me. Yeah, because the Black Project Insider actually asked Joey to put this message out there. The Insider, the control group member, possibly one of David Gross's 40-plus whistleblowers, he has something to say, guys. He's got something to say, and he wants Joey to put out this message, and I have no problem putting this out there, too. It's a good message. He says, our biggest concern is that nothing comes of all this effort, and everything goes back to the way it was. The only result being that I just put me and my team on burn notice for nothing. But I still have hope because we can still look up. The skies are not classified, and our conscious mind, our conscious, cannot be redacted. I don't know if our consciousness cannot be redacted. I have to dispute that, Insider, because obviously mind-wiping technology exists, or mind-wiping abilities do exist. Alien abductions speak to that, as do abductions by the military and the control group. So, but I like the idea that our consciousness cannot be redacted. It's a great quote, anyway. The psionics relationship with ET could be our saving grace, because the ET are more powerful than our black programs, and the ET seem to be good-natured. Indeed, the psionics are luring these objects in and these beings in with friendly communication. That's how they get these guys, is because they are friendly. And also, if they were unfriendly, we probably wouldn't be luring them in. We would expect reprisals from them or their people if we were shooting them down and they were angry about it and they came in guns blazing, right? So the control group is not expecting reprisals from this group that they're luring in, which seems to indicate they know that they're friendly. They're deliberately shooting at friendly beings. So yeah, not cool, control group, not cool. But this insider is obviously a pro-disclosure element within the control group. I'm not impugning him. Thank goodness for people like this. He says, continuing, evil is not functional. Moral virtue is way more functional. Love and coordination is also way more practical. There's no way you can figure out complex problems and advanced technology without advanced virtue and morals. And I like that. I really resonate a lot with that. I do have to kind of dispute evil is not functional. The World War II Germans were pretty functional, unfortunately. They were very technologically advanced, and they were very functional. Of course, maybe they got their technology by, getting it from beings that were more functional or were more of a higher order. The Maria Orsic story and the Vril Society and all of that. The information that I have on that, the best information is actually from Dick Algire's remote viewing session on Maria Orsic, where he was able to see her communicating with these higher beings, and it was a friendly, open dialogue with enlightened, benevolent beings who did not want this technology misused. And she was an enlightened person herself and also didn't want it misused. But it was. So we can argue. I think there's an argument to be made that evil is not functional if the World War II Germans were stealing their technology from friendly aliens, which is entirely possible, and that's exactly what the control group is trying to do, seemingly. But to continue, those are two things that have evolved together. Even with all our imperfections, we are way more moral and virtuous than humans of the past. Love and kindness and cooperation seem to scale up over time, parallel to technological advancements. So, a really great message from the insider. Let's see. Leaks provided to Michael by Black Program Insider. And let's see. Defining the major groups at play here. Blue Group, the above-board black budget operations and general acknowledged government activities operating within congressional oversight. These guys are unaware of and do not deal with non-human tech. The Black Group, an organization started by our government in the 40s to reverse engineer non-human tech. They succeeded, but over the various presidential administrations, oversight eventually got cut off, and they became an unacknowledged rogue operation that operate on their own set of rules. Anyway, Michael went over all this in the interview. Yeah, but there's a good breakdown of the various parts of this, including the psionics and P3s. And how Native Americans have a higher natural percentage of people with this genetic ability. I've also heard they are among the most often, the ethnic groups that are most often abducted by beings. Very interesting. Also, I think Scottish people. At least that's some of the information out there. I mean, we don't have hard numbers on this, but that is some of the information that is out there about controlling ET craft. The death toll, this is alarming. The people with psionic abilities are taught how to communicate with ET and interface with ET tech, but they are also given a lot of heavy drugs because you have to be in a very positive, calm, happy mental state in order to do it. After several years of this experimentation and drug use, a lot of these people die or slip into a coma. These people are essentially treated like biological equipment, maintained and then replaced when worn out. Joey says, my impression is this has been going on for decades, and the process has somewhat improved at this point. In controlling ET craft, in order to fly some of the ET craft, it has to be done through consciousness. So a Black Group pilot can't fly an ET craft directly if he doesn't have the psionic abilities. So they have devised a way to connect a psionic person to an advanced brain interface machine where the pilot can control the machine to control the person's intentions and in turn control the ET craft. So it's something like this, the Black Group pilot to advanced machine to psionic person to ET craft. Yeah, so they're using the psionics as puppets to operate the craft. That is just so scary and so alarming that seems to be what's going on. And again, this is communication directly from the insider. Let's see. Joey says, I have been in direct contact with Michael and have independently verified that Mike met this person and they went to a secured facility and based together. I believe this person is who he says he is, mostly due to the nature in which he brought Michael to this location. I can't talk about it publicly, but I've had private video calls with several trusted UFO researchers and shared evidence with them off the record. And I'm hoping they'll soon start to speak about their impressions of what I've shared. If you think about all the rumors we are hearing about Grush and through Michael Schellenberger, about 30 plus firsthand witnesses coming forward, I suspect this person is one of those people. And I'm a little unclear how much information is coming directly from the insider. But anyway, there does seem to be have been a communication, at least, with that insider. So hopefully that insider will come forward. I think it was Danny Sheehan that said that he's expecting all 40 plus whistleblowers, not just 30, but 40 plus to come forward this year, which means if this whistleblower is among that group, that he or she is going to come forward this year. So we could get direct testimony from this individual. And that would be amazing. It would be amazing to get testimony from any of these guys. But people with direct access to UFO shoot downs and psionics, I mean, that would be just mind-blowing. That'd be mind-blowing, guys. Very alarming and, troubling, but, important information that we need to know. We need UFO disclosure very badly to protect the people that are being hurt by the abusive elements of the UFO control group. Among other things, we're shooting at UFOs, guys. We're shooting at UFOs. We are, that's not good. That's not good. We're shooting at beings that are not hostile, but if we shoot enough of them down, will they become hostile? And clearly there are negative elements of the phenomenon that may be more hostile and warlike. And I guess we're not shooting at them. We're deliberately targeting the friendly ones. So who are we working with? In this communication so far, I don't get the impression that this group, this black site, is working with the beings. They don't seem to be working with any live beings unless it's maybe some that have been recovered from these crashes, or not crashes, shoot downs, these takedowns of these objects. So, we know that's been happening over the years. They'll retrieve these beings from these crashes or shoot downs and keep them captive and, try to get information out of them. And, believe that Jon Stewart video or not, I think that's been, corroborated in large part by Nico, who saw a very similar but much longer video. And, there have been many accounts over the years of beings that have been held captive after a crash or a shoot down. And so that just seems to be a thing. How cooperative are those beings? We don't know. How much information are they able to extract from those beings? We don't know. How are those beings being treated? We don't know. Do any of them ever go home? Do they all just die in captivity? We don't know. But again, more reasons why we need UFO oversight. Because we are very, unambiguously, in my opinion, working with some willing beings. The Terry Lovelace story and many experiencer accounts where they will see, during alien abductions, where they will see, U.S. servicemen or women and government officials working alongside the beings during these abductions. So somebody is working with the beings, that are willing beings, not captive beings. So I don't get the impression that is this group, or at least that is information they are holding back and they are not willing to disclose. So either way, Michael Herrera's information is hugely important, and I'm so glad Joey is not my name was able to corroborate and verify a lot of this. And I'll let you go through his Reddit post and read all about his research. And I reached out to Joey to see if he would be willing to come on the channel for an interview to really dive deep into the research and what he was able to find and the things that really stood out to him the most. So we'll see if he's up for that interview. I think it'd be a great one to get it right from the horse's mouth, the investigator's mouth. But meanwhile, just a fantastic, Reddit post, or a series of Reddit posts. Again, he talks to the insider. He talks to people in Michael's unit that were there that day when they saw the UFO. Now, I don't think they are corroborating the UFO account, but they are corroborating that Michael was there that day. And, but again, I think that the Black Project Insider probably wouldn't have reached out to Mike if he hadn't seen what he says he saw. So, and that insider apparently has been corroborated, as has Mike's journey to that black site, based on what Joey is saying here. So just amazing research, amazing investigation by Joey.